guys, welcome back to A Page in the Chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige. I like to read a lot of books and talk about them here with you guys with varying degrees of success. Today we're going to talk about one of my favourite things, and that is my degree. It's not one of my favourite things right now. It's very stressful and not fun right now, but in general, I enjoy it. Today I'm going to be giving you some reading recommendations for books on archaeology and anthropology, which is what I study. My degree related videos have done very well in the past. You guys loved my cultural representation in Twilight video and my forensic book recommendations video, so I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I didn't think anyone would be interested. But the numbers clearly suggest people are, so I'm doing this video today. If you guys like the sound of this video, or you like what you've seen so far, why not hit that big red subscribe button down below and stick around and watch some of my other videos. There is no shortage of bookish content here. I upload once a week at the very least, but for the majority of the year it's usually twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday. Life is just very hectic for me right now. I'm in my final term of my degree, so you can imagine the stress and stuff that's going on right now. So we're down to once a week at the moment, but it will be returning to twice a week, I promise. So this is a pretty diverse list of different areas of Arc and Anth, but if you guys would like some more specific recommendations, do please reach out to me on Twitter or leave a comment down below, and I will try and find a very specific book for you if that's what you need. And we can just get into my list of recommendations right now before I yabber on anymore. Is yabber a word? Yabber. So the first book I want to talk about is one of my favourite non-fiction books of all time, and that is Crazy Like Us by Ethan Watters. This is about the globalization of the Western mind and about the medicalization of mental health and how that is affecting non-Western cultures and beliefs. This is just an insanely interesting book. It's one of the few non-fiction books where I didn't get bored at a single point. I just flew through it and genuinely changed my outlook on life. So the basic premise of this book is that different mental health illnesses and disorders will present themselves differently in different cultures. They use anorexia as an example, and in this case what America and England would label as anorexia is not what somewhere like China would label anorexia, because the illnesses just look completely different in these two cultures. But as a result of Western psychiatry and media and medicalization, these mental illnesses are becoming homogenous across all cultures, which has positive and negative consequences. Probably a criticism of the book is that it doesn't really go into these, but it's not what the book aimed to do. So you could probably do some more research into the positive and negatives of this. If you go on to study an anthropology degree or do anything in anthropology at all, then medicalization often does come up. It's come up in more than half of my modules for this year. It's definitely worth checking out. The next recommendation that I have for you is an archaeology one, and that is Bog Bodies. I read this book about a year ago now, and bog bodies are just so interesting. And archaeology as a discipline is very interested in bog bodies, because it's one of the rare circumstances where a body will be completely preserved. Like, I'm talking skin and hair, nails, it's all still there, and it's something to do with the gases on top of the bog. They kind of keep everything in place. The book does explain all of this in detail if you are interested, and this book just goes through all the key finds throughout contemporary research of bog bodies and what these findings have shown and what they can tell us about past cultures and history and how they've completely changed the game in terms of archaeological thinking. Bog bodies are just really cool, and I think this book handles it nicely and in a very academic way with photos if you are confused. So I really do recommend this, especially if you are interested in that side of archaeology and I guess anthropology, because it comes under forensics. So nice mesh of the two here. This next book is called How to Think Like an Anthropologist, and I actually read this before coming to uni, and I put it on my personal statement that I'd read it. But funnily enough, when I got to uni it was on the reading list for one of my core modules in first year, so I clearly did something right. This is essentially a book that gives you an overview of what anthropology is, the aims, the methods that we use, what we can learn from anthropology, why it's interesting, all those types of things. And as well as giving you that overview, it gives you some very like core concepts within anthropology and how you can begin to start to critically analyze the world around you, and you know, things like what culture is and how can we critically define culture. It's not the most engaging of books. It took me a while to get through it. It felt very much like an academic piece, not really something that grabs your attention and pulls you in, but I did find it really, really interesting, and it did really give me that overview and really help me out. And I think if you're just looking to think more critically about your surroundings, then this is a book that will really teach you how to do that. So I do recommend it. It just wasn't the most fascinating of all the books on this list. This is a very interesting one, and another part of anthropology that I have absolutely adored, and for the longest time I thought I was going to do my master's in this. And so this book is called Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are? This is a very, very new area of anthropology, but it's called human-animal interactions, and it just looks at it is what it sounds like. It looks at how humans interact with non-human species in the world. And I took a whole module in this last year. I absolutely adored it. It was one of the most interesting modules I've ever taken, and is the reason that I am a vegetarian still to this day. And so I think this book is just really, really interesting introduction to that. It also attempts and kind of contributes to this very, very central anthropological question of what it means to be human. Historically, we've often defined it as the fact that we can communicate with symbolic language, we can use tools, you know, like that's kind of how we define and separate ourselves from the animal kingdom. And a lot of recent studies in animal cognition have revealed that they can do exactly those same things too. It really does just try to delve into those questions and really make you think. It will just make you rethink everything you know about human and animal intelligence, and a lot of anthropology is just making you question things, and a lot of the times you'll just leave a lecture and you'll be like, what? Everything I've thought is wrong. So this book will give you a flavour of that. I actually have this next book with me. What a concept, I know. So this next book is Mortal Wounds, and this follows the archaeology of conflict through time from the Stone Age to circa 19th century, and it attempts to answer questions about why did war originate, who was partaking in war, what was the purpose of war, and how has the purpose of war changed over time. Very, very big questions, and I am doing my dissertation in violence and medieval warfare, so I picked this up to try and help me out with my diss, but in general it was just really, really interesting. And I think a lot of people come to archaeology thinking that it's either going to be about Egyptian pyramids or skeletons, and there is a lot more to archaeology, and if you want recommendations based on those things, then do please hit me up. I have loads, but generally it's a lot about skeletons, so this is cool if you want to know in general about the human skeleton, if you want to know how we can see warfare on the skeleton, or if you want to know these big, big questions about how did violence occur? Magical. This is a bit of a biased one because my dissertation is looking at sharp force trauma, but you know, what can you do? And finally, we have this very, very obscure, interesting book that I found called Evil Archaeology. This is about the archaeology of looking at demons and possession and curses, etc. It is so cool, and I have never seen anything like this before in my time studying archaeology. It looks at gruesome artifacts that have been found, the folklore and evidence surrounding like real relics that have been found. It answers or tries to answer some really big questions that genuinely would have never crossed my mind, like how did this belief in demons and superstition lead to civilization? What a huge concept that could be answered. Like, oh my god, it's so, so interesting. And then of course things like the origins of demons and superstitions. The one criticism I have of this is that it does try to suggest or argue that these ancient spirits are still with us now, and I feel like for an academic piece, I don't know if that's particularly professional or believable. However, perhaps there is sufficient evidence to back that up, but I really doubt it, so I'm not a huge fan of that. In general, this book is top tier, top notch, so interesting, and just such a weird part of archaeology. You're probably not going to learn this in an archaeology degree. There might be 1 or 2 unis around the country that have a module in this, but by the sounds of it, it is very, very new and obscure. So I don't know if it's really going to help you out for a degree, but like just general interest wise, this is so cool, and obscure topics like this make me fall in love with archaeology all over again. So I had to put it on this list. And so there are my Arc and Anth book recommendations. I do hope that you guys found this interesting. I know it's such a niche area of reading. It's a niche area of non-fiction too, so it's just like layers of unpopular, but you guys seem to enjoy it when I talk about my degree, so I thought we would do a whole book recommendations for it. As I said, if you want specific recommendations, do please reach out to me on Twitter or down in the comments, and I will be more than happy to help you out and have a chat with you about Arc and Anth. I love doing it, so what can I say? If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to stick around and see more, then do please hit that big red subscribe button and watch some of my other videos. There is absolutely no shortage of bookish content on this channel. It is at least once a week, but for the majority of the time it is twice a week. So what have you got to lose? It's just books on books on books on books here. You may as well join. Thank you very much for watching, especially if you made it this far. I really hope you found a book you're interested in reading. Do let me know down in the comment section if you did. And if you have any more recommendations, let's just like keep the ball rolling, you know? Everyone would love a whole list of recommendations. So thank you very much for watching and engaging, and I will see you next week for my next video. Bye guys.